All right, now we're back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast. We recently spoke about we had a WWE Raw review. It was a pretty darn good one. So if you haven't watched it yet, make sure you watch it. All these Raws kind of heading toward WrestleMania is going to be kind of a really big deal. Like it's like you can't miss it. We talked about NXT tonight, a nice little NXT preview, what to watch for. Um, Trick Williams, what he's a new opponent for Obafemi. And now let's move on to my man, Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, what we kind of spoke about on WWE Raw, is in this feud with Seth Rollins. And of course, they're like two of the top talents in wrestling right now. And they're two talents that you can't afford to lose if you're the agent or if you're negotiating Drew McIntyre's contract. I would recommend to like pay the guy because like we were talking about before, how Drew McIntyre could play that perfect heel, but he can also play that perfect baby face. And honestly, I feel for Drew. I really do. The WWE took a chance on him and gave him his spotlight during COVID, and that kind of says a lot, like in a good way and kind of like a bad way. A bad way being like, okay, since we're not really gonna have to worry about ticket sales, like we can kind of like experiment during this time, like put the strap on somebody that we'll see if they draw attention or marketing and stuff like that, and also in a good way that once when our economy and our society was kind of like brought to like a standstill during the COVID pandemic, where everyone was kind of a little afraid of catching it and wondering if the vaccine was like truly the answer, which, obviously it was, modern medicine, they developed these things to kind of help you, but this isn't that kind of a podcast. But could be like a kind of like a good, kind of perspective through Drew, that they kind of put the company on his back to kind of carry them through this hard time where because you got to think about it, you didn't have any revenue for ticket sales. You probably didn't have a lot much revenue during marketing or like sales and stuff like that, because I think a lot of the times, well, from my experience going to WWE events, a lot of the times I would stop at a gift shop because you like the moment you walk into it. And my go-to WWE watch area is either the Honda Center in Anaheim, California, or the Staples Center in Los Angeles. Well, now it's the Crypto.com arena, but and the moment you walk in, there's these awesome freaking shirts, and they have replica title belts. They have like the little money to bake briefcase that's like $70, but it's so cool to have. But I think they missed out like a lot on that revenue kind of thing. But I don't know. Like I said, Drew McIntyre, he he held his own. He was very like he was that man. He was that guy. But Drew McIntyre, he said, and I quote, that it's very important for him to basically be re-signed to WWE. Like he doesn't want to go anywhere else, and none of us want to see the Scottish Warrior going anywhere else. Um, right now, there's a lot of talks with multiple stars within the promotion, reportedly, like reaching the end of their deals. So it's usually when this kind of stuff happens, there's always a couple of guys that get kind of like the short end of the stick and either have to sign for less money or try to find somewhere else to sign, like AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan Wrestling, and that. But I don't know. AEW recently, they've been signing like some pretty top free agents lately. They got the cash, I guess. And obviously WWE does too, and they have like a lot of star power. But it would have been pretty cool to have Will Ospreay in the WWE. But I guess before it said that he was a little too expensive. But at that. And plus, like right now, you kind of have this thing going on with Seth Rollins that I don't know. Putting the strap on Drew would kind of make more sense because you've had this match happen multiple times between him and Seth Rollins, and I feel like something different needs to happen. And because he kind of had this feud with Damian Priest, it would be kind of interesting to see, like, and of course this is totally my prediction, but like what if like during the match they're fighting, and because Roman loses the belt because he couldn't have outside interference with the bloodline and it's all Seth's fault, that he comes out with Solo Sikoa and they just beat the hell out of Seth Rollins before the match. And Seth Rollins is like he's in like the medical examining room, and they're like, Seth, you can't compete, you can't compete. He's like, no, I'm a fighting champion. And he goes out there and he loses to Drew McIntyre, which kind of sucks for McIntyre because like it's like one of those things like really that's the only way you're going to give him a championship run again. This dude is kind of this cheap, like it's just so cheap. Like I don't know. Anyways, um, so but that would kind of bring up a lot of storylines, especially with CM Punk eventually coming back to maybe potentially face Drew for a championship match. It'd be pretty dope. Um, but Damian Priest would probably cash in against Drew McIntyre. It'd be kind of perfect because they kind of had their, they've had their turmoil in the past. Like most recently, like a month ago, I think they were fighting and stuff like that. But I don't know. That kind of makes sense right now. It would make no sense for WWE not to sign Drew McIntyre. So I'm not really tripping about it. I know he's going to definitely be back. And see, that's another thing we got to talk about is his feud with CM Punk. His feud with CM Punk, obviously, like you see the back of his shirt, right? And it's showing like check marks of I did this, I did that, I did this, and then it says injure CM Punk, and yeah, he really did do that, and he's pretty darn proud of it. And I think like he's kind of playing the fans like heartstrings on that, and that CM Punk is probably gonna come back as a babyface, which is crazy because like he's not really that kind of babyface kind of type, CM Punk. But I don't know. I think Drew, with the push and support, he can carry the WWE on his back, especially when Roman loses his title and this bloodline storyline is basically going to be put capiche no more. I think that they're gonna have to like have some new people kind of step it up, and I think Drew McIntyre would be kind of perfect for that role. Like, you know what I mean? Like God, what's gonna happen to Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso once when the bloodline disappears? Like, Solo Sikoa doesn't really have that much success as a singles wrestler on the main roster, and Jimmy, if he doesn't patch things up with Jay, Jimmy's not really that singles kind of competitor. Like, you know what I mean? A lot of times where fads break up, there's always really one guy who kind of prospers, and that's going to be Roman. And the other guys kind of just fall away, and either like they don't get signed, or they go with like somebody else, or they win like a championship, like the 24/7 belt or something like that. And like I think the only kind of thing that disputes that ideology is the Shield, where once when they broke up, Roman Reigns had a good career, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, all three of them had their own like little persona. But near the end, they kind of did Dean a little weird with the moral compass thing, where he was like, I don't know, kind of like not totally crazy, but it was like to the point where it was like, dude, what's going on with this guy? But anyways, but like I said, the main plot of this segment is just that WWE should sign Drew McIntyre. Keep him on there. All right. So for our fourth segment, we have news about Raquel Rodriguez being ruled on the inactive list on WWE.com. Also, you have Lions coming back. She's up and comer wrestler in the NXT women's division, and it'd be interesting to see what they decide to do with her, because there's a lot of talent out there. It's so crazy. Whenever a new talent emerges, like me as a wrestling fan, I kind of think about the older people that's been on there a little while, and I'm like, oh my God, what are they gonna do to them? Like, I hope they don't cut them or they don't fire them and anything like that. But like, anyways, all right, stick tuned.